Hello and welcome back to Entrepreneur Talks podcast, season 3. I'm so excited. I'm about to introduce my new guest for this week. Feel free to get in touch with my guest because all the information about it will be on the description of each episode. You will find the website, social media, contact number, email, everything that my guest will provide, even a promo, something that you can get as a freebie because you've been listening, because you've been here with us. And don't forget, follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube by Women Flix. You will find all this information and much more. Get connected with us. Find more about what we do. And feel free to get in touch. My name is Bachelor, and I'm here with my guest that I'm about to introduce. So, sit down, relax, and enjoy. My guest for today's podcast is Margaret Mary O'Connor, and she is the author of the book called Scandal in the Shadows, the original priest, Mother Mary. Margaret is bringing us the subject about Christianity, Catholic side when it comes to women to be priests. Let's welcome Margaret and listen her story and why she's here with us today. Hello, Margaret, and welcome to my podcast. I'm so delighted to have you here today with me.
Hello, Yola. I'm so glad to be here as well.
Fantastic. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you.
That's amazing. And tell me, where are you talking from? Where are you in each part?
Yes, I'm in Buffalo, New York.
Oh, okay. So very far from me. London, UK, definitely.
Yeah, it's exciting to be talking to someone from London.
Oh, that's great. Welcome. We're gonna have fun for sure. So, Margaret Mary O'Connor, tell me a little bit about your background.
Yes, I have a Master of Science from the University of Buffalo. I have a Master of Arts in Pastoral Ministry from Christ the King Seminary in East Aurora, New York. And I was formerly a chaplain, and currently I am a Eucharistic Minister at my home parish.
Oh, amazing. So you are in the, it's Catholic, right?
Yes, I am.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow. Oh, I never had someone talking from this kind of position or even this type of, profession.
Oh, really?
No, this is amazing. Oh, I hope, I'm sure my listeners as well, because we have been podcasting for a while, and I never had someone like that. So so tell me, what is because I know you really, you are a woman, right? So how is the world for you as a priest in your community?
Well, actually, even though I was a chaplain in Eucharistic Ministry, I'm still within the Catholic Church considered a lay person. And I am a newly published author of a book called Scandal in the Shadows, The Original Priest, Mary, Mother. And I'm really excited to have a platform finally to get the truth of the actual past early history of women religious leaders in the Catholic Church. And unfortunately, this is a history that has literally been hidden. It involves a centuries-old scandal of cover-up and lies. And if you can imagine, no matter what faith you belong to, if your church officials you find out have been lying to you, there is such a personal betrayal.
Yes.
And that really cuts deep. And it's not only initially going through that experience of being, basically betrayed by your church. It's also a grief in a sense of you realize that there's a religious heritage that has been lost to you as a woman. If you are a male priest and your family members, it basically runs through generations. They will have a man who would become, let's say, either a priest, a bishop. Some even went on to be cardinals. But what I'm saying is generational wise, there was always, someone in the family as a role model. And in the Catholic Church, for men, obviously, they have the role models of priests that are up there. But what about for the woman? There really is no role model.
And that's something it is a role model, right, Mary? Yes.
Mary Mother is, but she was never considered to be a priest. And this is something that is actually, it's not something that I'm making up out of conjecture. This has been found through biblical research. And I think it's pretty exciting that this other completely, if you want to call it, which really it is, it's been a hidden side to Mary, Mother of God, that she was a priest, she was a bishop, that she herself ministered. I mean, you can imagine the people that she ministered to. And she actually had a title that she was the model for all priesthood.
Okay.
Now, this went on actually, during Mary's lifetime. And if we jump forward to 1903, and when you consider 2,000 years of church history, 1903, there was a Pope Leo XIII who received a painting of Mary dressed in priestly garments. Then in 1913, the Holy Office forbade any devotion to Mary priest. And then we move on to 1927, and her title was completely taken away from her.
Wow.
So it's shocking, not only time-wise, that it's the closest that we know, again, considering 2,000 years of church history.
Yes, but why still, Margaret, sorry to interrupt you, but why is still something that is still hidden from people? Why? That's because you've been talking and I'm like, wow, this should be said by everyone. Everyone should know. I didn't know, actually.
Oh, definitely. And in fact, there was an author, Gary Macy, who had a book out, The Hidden History of Women Priests.
Okay.
And he made a statement to me that was shocking. He said, in the first 1,200 years of Christianity, there were women priests, and it said it shocked him. And you can imagine I as well was shocked, or I think anyone in your audience, if they read that, would be shocked.
Yes.
And the only reason I think that they're hiding it is, I mean, let's face it, after centuries of lies and cover-up, this is something that they wouldn't be very proud to come out and say that, you know, they have been misleading the Catholic laity. And as well, unfortunately, I think it's like a power struggle. You have to really go back into the early beginnings of early Christianity to try to get an understanding of how women were so looked down. Believe it or not, when you think of like back in early Christianity, Rome, of course, was a big leader. They had all the power. They had the, you know, big armies. And,
yes.
It was the way their civil law treated women. They saw woman as basically nothing. They had nothing.
Yeah.
And the Catholic Church leaders basically shaped that same offensive, prejudicial civic law, and they formed it into their Catholic Church law. So there was just such a great bias there, because if these church theologians were, you know, taking from something which to begin with was prejudicial, you can imagine right away any laws or anything towards women, it didn't come from an evil, not an evil, I'm sorry, an equal standpoint. Yeah, they were evil in a way, you know, sinister really, what they did. But that's a whole other aspect that most people don't realize. And yes, there were some rich women back then. And in fact, as we know, churches that are on the corners of streets, back then, there was nothing like that. The people would actually go to these rich women's houses. They were called like house churches.
Yes, because Margaret,
to celebrate.
Yes, one question I've got now is about the present. Right now, in terms of preach, like your profession, what you do, is not too many women around the world doing what you do, right?
Well, there's not too many women. Women have, yes, they've written books, and these are brilliant women that have really done the research. They've done all the hard work, and I'm here gleaming from that, and I'm trying to present it to the average everyday Catholic, because they know the truth. They've already written about this in their research, but I'm still mystified, as like you said, you know, why don't people know? And it's time until the average Catholic laity, that's what we're called, know the truth at hand. Nothing is going to change in Rome.
Oh, wow, nothing is going to change.
And then you also might wonder, well, gee, why are, beyond going back, you know, centuries ago, how the laws were all biased basically against women, why can't women be priests in the Catholic Church?
Yes. Why?
Jesus said in Galatians 3:28, he said there is no man or woman. All are one in Christ Jesus. So right there's the equality between the man and the woman. Or even going back to Genesis 1:27, in the divine image, woman and men were created. They were made by God.
Yes, correct.
And so many times you'll hear biblical references in association of why women can't be priests. There's often men believe that women are not made in the image of God. And back then, their own frame of mind was women were basically under their dominion, especially if you were the average poor woman, and you had no authority.
Yes.
So, that just came about. That was awful cultural prejudice.
I imagine, Margaret, because let's go to another, let's say, on another religion, it's my mistake. On another side of Christianity is the evangelic way. And I've seen on that side of Christianity, women can be pastors. They call pastors, right? They don't really call them priests, I think. So it's because Christianity in the Catholic way or evangelic way is different, because it's the way I don't know very well to explain, but I know one of the things I know from the side of evangelic is the way they contact, they get in touch, or they believe, because the belief is the same, but the way you interact with God is different. But I've seen women as pastors, and very powerful women, but I'm not sure if they living in that kind of life as a Christian on the Catholic side, if I make sense. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but it's two sides of this, right? What do you think?
Yes, there is. And until people really realize the factual history, that how even biblical verses were used in a twisted way due to the awful cultural prejudice, that there was about 4 other points on that line. Mm-hmm. That it was believed like women could never speak publicly in church. And again, this went back to a cultural prejudice. Women were feeble-minded.
Yes.
And as well, they had emotional instability. So you couldn't expect them to be out in the public of all places and, talking publicly.
Wow.
And then there was, woman carried the punishment for Eve. And again, this goes way back to Genesis. And if women obviously had sinned, they wouldn't be the stellar candidates for priesthood. That was relegated to the perfect members of the church. And that, of course, was the men. And then the belief that because Jesus was a man, only a man can represent him.
Yes.
At Eucharist. And again, this isn't even biblical. And finally, let's see, one other point was because Jesus explicitly chose only 12 apostles, which were all men, that somehow came to mean that he permanently never wanted any woman to be in the priesthood. And again, this isn't right. Jesus, when he lived, you have to remember back in that social cultural content, sure. At that time, ancient Israel was purely patriarchal. And that's why he chose a man, the 12 apostles, to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, because they, at that point, they couldn't understand, if he had. But you have to look at what he actually did. Jesus had women with him. Yeah. And of course, he picked Mary Magdalene as the apostle to the apostles.
This is beautiful.
I don't know if that gives you a little better idea.
Wow. I'm like, this story, like I said to you at the beginning, we never had anyone coming on this level, talking about Christianity or talking about any religion. And I'm so grateful because you brought this. And I'm sure, like my listeners as well, if they never heard, they're going to learn something today. And they might going to help to change the way the world brings women to any type of position in the world, any business, any especially on this, because this is unbelievable in the world that we're living, but it's unbelievable that happened before.
Yes, in 2020, that this is actually happening.
And it's still happening. And Thank you so much, Margaret, for this opportunity to have.
Could I just say one thing?
Yes, of course.
I really would like your audience to help me by going to yourradicaltruth.com. That's yourradicaltruth.com.
Yeah.
If you want to initiate change and believe in the year 2020 that women should be at least have their equality in the church to become a woman Catholic priest, then I would like you to sign the petition. Pope Francis wrote a book on women. Excuse me.
Great. No, it's all right. No.
And anyway, he came out with a shocking statement, and he said that women achieved their feminine or their feministic goals back when women received the right to vote. Okay, that's 1920. What's happening now in the Catholic Church is, I mean, it's just shocking. What about women's equality? In 1976, the Pontifical Biblical Commission said there was absolutely no reason why women can't be priests.
Yeah.
They denied that. They've kept that secret. Then you have a directive from Vatican II that if this was obeyed back in the 60s, it was to completely eliminate all discrimination, sexual discrimination in the church. That would have been another avenue to open up priesthood. And lastly, you listeners have probably heard about the deacons, the study of a commission on deacons. Back in the 70s, there was a commission, and that basically looked into women deacons, and it actually compared between men deacons and women deacons. They were both on the altar in the presence of a bishop. The bishop laid hands over them. They both received the cup of blood, and yet our present Pope says he can't do a sacramental decree without more historical theological foundation. The theological foundation is there from their own Pontifical Biblical Commission's findings. And as well, we have the historical from going way back. So there was no need to initiate a 2016 study. I guess I'm asking your audience, why is the hierarchy completely covering up all the factual evidence of women priests, women bishops, women deacons, and above all, Mary, Mother of God, as a woman priest? So I'm just trying to get that truth out there, because I really believe any woman has a right to be a woman priest.
Yes, I do accept, and I do believe as well. Thank you, Margaret. All the information about this link and all the ways you can get in touch, or my listeners can get in touch with you, will be on the description of your podcast when it comes live. So to my listeners right now, check the links and help Margaret to reach the petition and sign up and just help the women, because I know on our podcast right now, or even my followers, my listeners, is a lot of women involved, and I'm sure you're gonna feel what I felt right now. You're gonna listen carefully the story that Margaret brought for us today. I really thank you, Margaret, for this moment, and I hope that through my podcast and other ways on Facebook, on other places, on social media, you can reach enough women to be able to sign this petition and change that perception.
Thank you very much for having this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, my dear. God bless you, and I'm sure we're gonna keep in touch. Let me just tell you, I just signed up for your petition just now. So I really hope that this change, and I speak with you another time for sure. We will get in touch. We will keep in touch. Take care, my dear.
Good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Take care and God bless
Take
you.
care. Bye.
This is the end of our session today. I really hope that you enjoy this session with my guest. I love it. Feel free to find more information about my guest and get connected with. He will be on the description of this episode. You will also find a freebie. There is always a freebie from my guest to you. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, where you will be connected with Women Flix, empowering women around the world. Get to know more about us. My name is Yola Bastos, and I'm so grateful that you've been here with me and my guest on this week. I really hope I can see you next week for a new story, a new journey, a new inspiration. Take care. Bye-bye.